Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam. Good morning. Welcome to the Java Cafe, Java fam.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Good morning. Today is Wednesday, December 14th, 2022. And I won't say I'm back on track with the date because I technically didn't mess up yesterday. For those of you that are watching, do me a favor. We have some very important information we're sharing with you this morning. This isn't the first time we've had our sponsor this morning, the Massachusetts Health Connector, with us. But we want to ensure, and the reason why they come back a couple of times a year is to ensure that those that don't have health insurance, that may be unemployed, that may be in immigration status, or for various reasons in our community, folks do not have health insurance. And some of the things that we're going to consider today right here is, as we know, our healthcare system can seem very complicated and expensive, as we talk about on Your Healthy Java twice a month. Many people are afraid of getting injured or sick, or unsure of what to do if something happens to a loved one. Uniquely here in Massachusetts, for those of us that are a few years old, we remember that Massachusetts really set the trend rather in health insurance equity and allowing better opportunities for those that are struggling with traditional health insurance to be able to get health insurance. So here in Massachusetts, we have close to universal health coverage and an easy way to get covered at low to no cost through the Massachusetts Health Connector. Many families and individuals want to get coverage but don't know where to start. They don't really know where to start looking. I had somebody pull me aside yesterday and say, hey, I'm tuning in tomorrow because I need to figure it out. So luckily today we're here with the Massachusetts Health Connector. I'm about to bring in our guest. And just to remind you, it is the place to find a plan for you and your family. It's easy to sign up. And there's also, as we've mentioned before, there is availability of Spanish when you call the number that we will also share later, but 1-877-623-6765. And so what I'm getting ready to do is bring in our guest this morning, Mr. Jason Lefferts. He is from the Massachusetts Health Connector. And so please, as you all do when we bring guests, quote unquote, into the building, go in the comments and welcome him, because sometimes they do go back and check and look and respond to comments. So let's get ready to show him some love as he's going to share some time with us this morning. Our Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and also Chaplain Tina Sherry from the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute will be with us as we talk about Survivors Awareness Month. And so let's go ahead and bring Jason in, and we'll get started to make sure you have the information that you need in reference to health insurance. So Jason, good morning. How are you, sir?
Hey, I'm great, Jimmy. How are you? Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I am doing pretty well, just making sure we have all the technical things here so we can get this important information out to the community. As I mentioned, the Massachusetts Health Connector has engaged with this BIPOC Black platform in the community to ensure that the information is out there. And so just introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about what you do with the Massachusetts Health Connector, and then we'll make sure that we get this information out to the community.
Sure. No, I appreciate it. My name is Jason Lefferts. I'm the Director of Communications and Outreach at the Health Connector. I've been here.
Oh, wait a minute. We have the boss?
Not quite.
The boss. What I consider, because I'm in communications, I can appreciate calling you the boss. When it comes to comms, you're the boss?
Yes.
I'm honored to have you here, sir. I mean, along with the other guests, but you get it. You get it why. When you said the comms director, I'm like, okay. But go ahead, sir. I'm so sorry.
No, not a problem. It's been a while since I've been called the boss. Yeah, look, what we want to do is we want to make sure everyone has health insurance. You got to have it. The state requires you to have it, which is one thing. But, look, you're going to get sick. God forbid you get hurt, in a car accident or something, and you got to go to the doctor or you got to go to the hospital. Not only do you feel miserable because you're sick, but you're going to feel miserable later when you get, thousands of dollars worth of bills, right? So
Absolutely.
Have health insurance, get it taken care of. The one thing that we can do for a lot of people is make health insurance more affordable. And we have tons of local help where people can go and sit down with someone and get through the application, and find out what kind of health plan they can get and get help figuring out what's the right plan, because a lot of people look at healthcare and their first thing is, it's way too expensive. I can't afford it. I don't want to do it. And their second thing is, it's way too confusing and hard and difficult and frustrating, and I don't want to do it. We can help on both of those things.
Okay. Jason, it's so interesting because a few minutes ago, when you talked about being hurt and also the bills coming in later on this platform, we talk a lot about mental wellness and mental health. And there is, when you're dealing with finances in general, and then now having this bill along with recuperating from either your sickness or injury, there is an impact on the mental health. And so it's interesting to also mention that getting the health insurance, you might need to go talk to somebody. And so there's options also for coverage for what is classified as behavioral health as well, with different plans of the Mass Health Connector. So I just wanted to mention that as well, as that's something that we promote on this platform. And so
that is awesome. And it's super important. And I think particularly over the last 3 years, people have come to understand more and more that mental health is just as important as physical health, and maybe even more so, right? Like, you might be in perfect physical health, but if you're not waking up in the morning feeling all that great, mentally, that's just as important to try to figure out. And having health insurance means that you can go and you can see someone and you can talk to someone.
That's right.
And get look, a couple years ago when when we were in the middle of COVID, I did it. I found someone locally, did it virtually, in conversation, like in situations like this, and it was super helpful. Do it, and you have access to be able to do it, and that's so important.
That, Jason, thank you so much for transparency there as well, because a lot of times I want to ensure that when I bring different guests in, that the audience gets to know them as an individual. And so you raising the importance of that there, while also raising this resource to be able to address and take advantage of what's available to us for therapy and different things. And so that piece about physical health and mental health, it's health. Mental health is health. And so let's get in. I don't want to get too far off here because we could stay there for 20 minutes. We got two other guests coming in at about 9:30. And so let's go into the role of the Massachusetts Health Connector. What is the role of the actual agency? You mentioned some of the things of assisting, but let's just clearly articulate it for our audience.
Sure. So, most people get their health insurance from their job, from the place they work, or maybe, they're older, they have Medicaid or Medicare. But there are people who don't have a job, or maybe they're working on their own, or maybe their job doesn't offer health insurance and they need coverage. So that's where the health connector comes into play. We are available to people who need health insurance and don't get it from another source. We are also the only place that provides help paying for health insurance. Through both state and federal subsidies, we can help pay for people's monthly premiums.
So not only do you connect to the resource, you don't just leave them there. Here's the resource. There may be an opportunity to get assistance in paying for it. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
Correct. Yes. No. Absolutely. So we offer, commercial plans, sort of what you would see on the open market. The carriers that you see advertising all over the place right now, those are available through us. But we can help, people who are lower, getting into middle income. We can help them pay for their health insurance. The premiums are lower for some people, who are on the, who are really lower income. They're $0 premiums. The copays for just about everything are maybe $10 or $15, and there's no deductible, right? Which obviously, people who have a deductible know that's that's a big deal.
Yes, sir.
There's also, kind of some of the free stuff that comes along with it, right? Like a free annual physical, free if you're pregnant, free prenatal and maternal care is available, and new for next year for people in our connected care program are $0 prescriptions for things like diabetes, hypertension, artery disease. And these are illnesses that impact some races and ethnicities more than others, and we want there to be health equity. And by making this medication available at no cost, we're going to have a healthier community
and have a whole. All right, Jason, we got to stay focused. As a comms person, we have our things, but I mean, you're really talking to, it's not just about the technical of signing up, meeting the Massachusetts requirement, but this, sir, is, and some will say, oh, duh, Jimmy, it's elementary, but this is about an improved quality of life. It really is. You're taking advantage of the equity, you're getting the insurance. And so you mentioned Connected Care. Can you tell us a little bit about what is Connected Care?
Sure. So Connected Care is a program that uses state and federal subsidies. People who earn up to about $40,000 a year or less can get into Connected Care. Like I said at the beginning, these are commercial plans. These are the same plans you see kind of out on the open market, but there's just help paying for that coverage. And depending on where you are in the income scale, you might pay $0 a month in a premium. You might pay $47 a month. You might pay $100 a month. Whatever it is, though, that's substantially cheaper than if you were just going out and buying it on your own. And so we want people to be able to come in and take advantage of that. We want to help as many people as possible make healthcare as affordable as possible. And it's hard. It's hard. Look, we're under no illusion that for people. For a lot of people, it's a choice, right? They're like, I got to pay rent. I got to pay for my car so I can get to work. I got to pay for my phone so I have access to the world. And those are
child care, expensive. Food costs have went up.
Food is ridiculous right now, right? But having healthcare is just as important as having those things. And it's hard, like if you're young and healthy and you're running around and everything's great, you feel like you don't need it. But if something happens, the gig is up.
But Jason, I really appreciate being again, the other guests have been great, but I appreciate you this morning. I love your candor. You also mentioned a part of Connected Care that there may be some new options. So what are some new options coming out this year? Maybe not specifically within Connected Care, but are there any new plans? You refer to commercial plans. Is there anything new for folks?
The plans are pretty stable for this year. I think a couple of things that are continuing that's important for people outside of Connected Care who make a little more money. There are federal tax credits available that help on that monthly premium. And, depending on how old you are and where you live, those can add up pretty good. They can be $200-300 a month to help pay for your premium, which really knocks that down substantially. And that's important. It's like monthly premiums, sort of the first thing you see, the first thing you react to when you're buying health insurance. To see that number get knocked down is really important.
Absolutely. And so you kind of mentioned it, but what are the costs for health insurance plans? And you kind of touched on it, but let's go a little bit deeper. How are the costs kept so low? Is it through the subsidies? Is it through, give us a little depth around there.
Yeah, it's through the subsidies, right? The plans are what the plans are.
Okay.
In terms of premium, but those subsidies help pay for that premium. So if it's a silver plan, it might be $500 a month, but once those subsidies come into play, that plan might be $200 a month if you're getting $300 in subsidies. If you're in Connected Care, depending on where you fall on the income scale, it might be $50 or $0. So the thing you got to do is you got to come in, you got to fill out that application, and we'll tell you online immediately what you qualify for and how much a plan is going to cost you.
While we're talking about that, because I know often some people jump in and jump out during breaks or whatever, because a lot of people are back at work. But this is the website to which you can go. And also you can call this phone number. Please also know on the website, I'm sorry, at the phone line, there is availability of Spanish support as well. And so we just wanted to put that back up there. Jason, before we get ready to wrap up, I just saw a question in the comments that asked about dental and eye care. Is that something that is included, or are there options for those type of plans as well?
We offer dental care separately.
Okay.
So you can come in, you can buy your health care, you can get your health care taken care of, and then you can move on to dental and get that all lined up and ready to go. We currently don't offer eye care. It's something that I think, we'd love to maybe do someday. But we don't do that right now.
Okay. Just because I know this young lady is one of our seasoned audience members, and I know that that's very important to everyone. I mean, look at me.
Yeah,
all of us. And so hopefully that's something that, and let us know if we can help rally some support or mobilization. I'm just messing.
That'd be great. That would be great. And the other thing I want to know, when you're talking about the phone number and the website,
Yes.
Again, there's that local help available. We have navigators, they're community organizations.
Right.
They are ready to help. If you're in Boston, the Boston Public Health Commission, they were just in East Boston on Monday doing a thing, helping people sign up. Starting on January 1st for the new year, Codman Square Community Health Center and Upham's Corner Community Health Center are going to be navigators. So they are obviously right in the neighborhood, right in the community. You can stop by there whenever they're open, sit down with someone, get through the application, find out what kind of healthcare you qualify for, and you can walk out the door knowing you're covered and ready to go.
And so one thing we want to talk about is this thing of open enrollment. Like, what is open enrollment? And I've shared with the audience before, on paper not being employed over these past couple of years, and I have had to take advantage of the zero payment because there was zero income coming in. So I want to be very transparent and honest that I've taken advantage of this program, and it has been helpful. At one point, I did have a separate dental plan. You know what I mean? So I just want to, I don't know why I didn't say that in the beginning, but I want to be very honest about that and transparent. The thing about the navigators, I remember from a couple of sessions ago is, again, and you mentioned it, but you can, if you can't get to the website, if you can't get to, the phone number or whatever, or you don't want to do it on the phone, you can go into some examples. Codman Square Health Center. When you reference East Boston, was that East Boston Health Center as well?
No, it was the Boston Public Health Commission. They were at the library. They hold regular events at the library with some people. Look, these guys have been doing this for a long time. Yep. They know what they're doing. And they're, they roll out of bed every day and like, I want to sign somebody up for health insurance and I want to make it as cheap as possible for them. So they are there to work with people, that they're free. They don't charge anything. They are some of the nicest people you're ever going to meet, and they're super helpful and they know what they're doing, and they can take care of you and get you set up.
Absolutely. Jason, I sense a passion from you about this space. Folks that move in comms and whatnot are usually in organizations that share their values. And so if I could sort of ask you off record, what is your why in working in a space and ensuring that people, no pun intended, ensuring that people get insured? Why is it so important to you? And then why is it so important for everyone else to take advantage of this?
Yeah, it's just, it comes back to that. Just, we want to live in the healthiest, best community we possibly can. And part of that is making sure that people have access to healthcare. We talk about sort of that worst case, you get really sick or you get hurt and you need to go to the doctor. But, there's the regular kind of everyday stuff, go get your annual physical, right? That's how you find out if there's a problem, right?
Yeah.
If you're not feeling great mentally, you can find a therapist to sit down and talk to and work your way towards feeling better that way. If you do have a chronic condition, if you have diabetes or hypertension or an artery disease and you need those prescriptions, we don't want people to have to make those decisions, right? Between do I buy groceries or do I buy prescriptions, right? Like let's take that decision off the table and let's help people live their best lives possible.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to ensure that you have this information. Please remember that the Mass Health Connector is the place to find a plan for you and your family. It's easy to sign up. And there is assistance available in Spanish at this phone number, 1-877-623-6765, and also on the website. Jason, can I ask, if folks want to know where they can go in and find navigators, is that information available on the website?
Yep. You go right to the website, right at the top. There's a get help button. Click on that, and it'll get you right to where you need to be. And you can put in your zip code or the community you live in. It'll tell you where the nearest help is available.
Okay. In some places, maybe you can walk in some places you may have to call, but the best place to get the information. And also, can I ask, if they call the number and they don't want to do the long process on the phone, they can call the number and get the name of local navigation places as
yes.
well? Okay.
Absolutely. Yep. So obviously December 23rd is the deadline if you want to start January 1st. So getting down to it, the navigators are pretty busy right now, but they'll figure out a way to get you taken care of between now and next Friday.
That was the thing I was going to wrap up with, because December 23rd, what I told the audience yesterday in mentioning that you were coming on was that if you get signed up and get everything done by the 21st, if I'm right and remember right, you go into the new year insured.
That's right. Yep. Finish by the 23rd. You wake up on New Year's morning, maybe a little hungover, but you got your health insurance, so you should feel better immediately.
And if you don't feel too well, if the hangover it makes you feel a little too bad, you could go check in because you have health insurance.
There we go.
Once you get dehydrated. So Jason, I really appreciate you. We're going to have Mass Health Connector to come back also in January to make before the 23rd to make sure that folks sign up. Because a lot of folks get into the new year. I'm going to be healthy. I'm going to eat right. I'm going to exercise. But you also need a primary care physician, and that primary care physician needs to get paid. And if you can't afford to pay them, guess where you can go to get some information so your physician can get paid. And we also talk on I have a segment called Your Healthy Java. There are certain screenings that need to take place. We're behind with those because of COVID. And so it is just so people wonder why we push so hard for wellness, is so that we can be here alive and experience all that folks are doing around equity and an improved quality of life. Jason, I appreciate you, sir. Our next guests are not in as of yet, and I thought we'd have opportunity to talk with our Congresswoman, but I'm not, as the young people say, I'm not going to hold you. But no, I really appreciate you coming back, and hopefully, I don't know who they have in mind for doing the second segment next month, but please, ask Valentina and wonderful folks over at ASG if it could be you, because I really enjoyed having you here this morning.
I really appreciate it, and I might tell Valentina to let me cut the line and do the next one also.
Because to have the boss in here, sir, is definitely a privilege. But I can see
my weight around when I can.
I can see where how the messaging has come out. I can see where it comes from someone like you that's passionate about ensuring that we get folks insured. So I really appreciate you.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate being here.
All right, Jason, have a good day and have a wonderful holiday season with you and yours.
Thank you. You too. Appreciate it. We'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.
Hey, everyone. So don't forget that you can go to www.mahealthconnector.org, www.mahealthconnector.org, and you will be able to get the information there. And also call 1-877-623-6765. In just a few moments, we are going to get ready to have our Congresswoman Presley and also Chaplain Clementina Sherry, who is coming in, and we're going to talk about Awareness of Survivors Month that is from, I believe, November 20th until December 30th. And so they're going to be in just a few moments. Let's go in and check in the Java Cafe and see who is in while they both are on their way, and say good morning. All right, let's go all the way up there. Dr. Darrell Drumright, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room this morning. Auntie Java, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room. Sharon Cornelius, good morning to you. Good seeing you last night holding down that tenor section in the Voices of Embrace Choir. Sister Debbie, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room as well. Leslie, good seeing you also being a part last night. Good to see you. Opal, good morning. Good to see you in the room this morning. I think I got Auntie Java. Good morning. Good to see you in the room. Pastor Marion, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room as well this morning. Tasha, good morning. Don't forget, folks, there is the service for survivors at the St. John Missionary Baptist Church on Warren Street this Sunday. Tasha, if you could tell me what time it starts, I believe it's 11 a.m. or 10:30, but if you could put that in the comments, please go out and support that service. And Sharon, it was saying hi to Jason. I think I am getting caught up here. Teresa, good morning to you. Good to see you in the room this morning. I think I got everybody. Valentina over at ASG, good morning to you. Thank you so much for making that connection to ensure that we get our folks insured this morning. And I think that you Valentina said you will be back, Jason. So Valentina, thank you so much for making that happen. Also wanted to remind folks that on tomorrow we are doing our usual Thursday theme of Thankful Thursdays. And so please be prepared. I'm thinking about setting things up here to take phone calls and let folks call in. My only reservation with that is that, you know, I don't have the setup where I can screen someone else, get the information, and, you know, I bring them on and put them through. So, you know, we might have to do not the screening, but, you know, I've been thinking about it to have folks come in and share. It's good to read them, but to have folks share and you hear their voice, some of our Java family members as well, to share that with them. So we are waiting for our second guest to come in this morning. Don't forget we have, and please go ahead, if you haven't already, please go ahead and share the information as we talk with Clementina Sherry and also Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley to talk about the Survivors of Homicide Awareness Month that is very active right now. Actually, let's go to the website, the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, to see, I believe there is a list there of events that is taking place across, and I believe that is a national, what I would call affinity months. So let's just get that calendar up. We're getting ready to bring in our guest, and I don't have that up here. So I'm going to go in and bring in our guest, our wonderful Congresswoman, the chaplain. If you're ready, we can bring you in as well. I can see in the background here, y'all, in the virtual green room. All right. So both of our guests are ready, and please do me a wonderful favor. Welcome. Hit that share button to get this information out. I'm sure with our Congresswoman, when we finish with our chaplain, we'll probably talk about a couple of national issues and the work she's doing down in DC. But let's go ahead and get ready to bring them in. And both are no stranger to the Java Cafe. Both of these queens, I love, know, respect for their, and I'll say it, their hard hustle for equity and improved quality of life in our community. So without further ado, our Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley and also Chaplain Clementina Sherry. And Chaplain, I may slip into, you know, what we
Jimmy, your volume went out.
My volume went out.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can't hear you.
Okay.
Chaplain, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear you also.
Maybe
okay, let me log out and come back.
All right,
Okay.
Congresswoman, you know tech. So our Congresswoman is going to be back with us and log back in. But Reverend.
Not a reverend yet. Don't take me there, James Hales.
Listen.
You're going to get me in trouble with some reverends. Don't do that to me.
But as long as you stay cool with God. Oh, so let me behave. Chaplain Clementina, how are you this morning?
I am blessed and highly favored. Thank you for that question. As a reminder of always, I have to always stay focused. And as long as I stay focused on God, I can answer that question with all honesty. I am blessed and highly favored. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. I asked that in general. And as you all know, or if you don't know, Chaplain Clementina is very active in responding, has set protocols and programs up for what we're dealing with in our community, not only local, and we'll talk with our Congresswoman more from a national level, but nationally, gun violence is definitely escalating from the mass shootings. While we're mentioning that, we want to mention, I believe today's the 10th year anniversary, chaplain, of, I think it's Sandy Hook.
The 10th year anniversary of Sandy Hook and 29th anniversary of Louis Brown being murdered.
Today?
Well,
this year. This year, okay.
Yes. But
okay.
Today is, yes, 10th year of Sandy Hook, and we're holding them in our prayers, holding all of the families in our prayers and our thoughts. And yeah, so it's great to be acknowledged.
Yes, ma'am. And one of the reasons I asked in general how folks are doing, but also just specifically with what's going on in our community right now, a lot of transition going on in the space of if y'all know Chaplain Sherry and I, you know why that laugh is there. Chaplain, is it possible to either if you're on a laptop or a camera yes, so we can see? Perfect. Look at this. Yes, ma'am. You sparkling over there?
I am sparkling. I knew I was coming on Java with Jimmy, and I knew I had to be sparkling today. Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. Wonderful. So can you give me special dispensation to say Rev?
You go right ahead. Claim it into existence.
Yes, it already is. And we're not going to get in all that church protocol stuff. If God called you, it's evident by the work that you've done. So anyway, Rev, why are we here today in reference to Survivors of Homicide Month?
We are here today, again, on the leadership of our congressional leader, Ayanna Pressley.
Yes.
She has been at this since she was a citywide city councilor, observing, acknowledging the Awareness Month here in Massachusetts and making that commitment and taking it for a national resolution. I don't want to take that away from her. I want her to do that. But Absolutely. The same way we have, National Crime Victims, National World AIDS Day, National Domestic Violence Awareness. When it comes to homicide, the victims are dead. There is nothing anybody can do for them. We are grieving, we are mourning. And for us, we want society to understand we are the ones that are left behind when we talk about gun violence, when we talk about homicide, especially, again, the 10th year anniversary of Sandy Hook.
Yes.
It falls during Survivors of Homicide Victims Awareness Month. It is about the families that are left behind. What are they doing? How are they informing, influencing, and impacting policy? And we have to make that a national movement and national awareness. We love prayers, we thank prayers, but prayers without action is dead. And so this national awareness will invite everybody to remember those of us that are left behind. And the holidays are the worst, especially for those of us grieving. Our loved ones will not be at the dinner table.
Right.
We dealt with Thanksgiving, and now we're going through December. So we selected this time not to be disruptive, but at the same time to acknowledge who we are and to give us permission. I don't need to be in festive mood. I need to be able to acknowledge. People need to be able to recognize what I'm going through and don't try to make me feel happy or get me into the holiday spirit. So Massachusetts has really observed this. A lot of our elected officials are doing amazing events observing the Awareness Month.
We want to just raise, and you referenced to our Congresswoman, they are working in the background to get her set up to be back in. I won't fall on the old church thing, but the devil is busy. No, I'm messing. We're just going to get her set up. But who I call Miss T, through tragedy, but we've come together to bond, and as you and I have oftentimes have impromptuly or come to in an impromptu manner to hold space for the community. And that's how I met Miss Teresa. And she says, I am forever in your debt, Chaplain Clementina, for yours and the Peace Institute support and assistance for my great niece, Deja Jenkins Minus. I love you beyond measure. And so I just wanted to share that and lift that to you as well, Tina, because it is the reality, and we're not going to go too deep here. The reality is this is tough and hard work. It really, really is. And I referenced to the transition going on with our city leadership, but we also want to hold our Dr. Falk in space for healing for him, because whatever, where we all have maybe room for improvement or whatever the humane part of moving in this space is very interesting. And so, Tina, I also wanted to acknowledge and celebrate and thank you for lifting this survivors of homicide awareness during this time of year, because I've been naming on the show for the past few weeks, the holidays is tough, whether from homicide, natural causes, these past couple of years, COVID, Rev. But the other piece is that for many, it's the first.
Yes.
And like you mentioned, missing the seat at the dinner table and whatnot. And so thank you for affirming that that is something that we should be holding space in, to ensure that our community knows that there are resources available. There are advocates at every level advocating for us. And so, you know, you got one halfway preacher on and another. So I'll shut up so you can go ahead and continue sharing. But Tina, what is it that we can do as a community? And you know, we both have held folks accountable, but we both have also been very real about we have a role.
Yes.
So what is it that we can do as a community to help?
Well, I think, you know, that's a multi-million-dollar question. And sometimes it's a double-edged sword, because community is doing. I think what I feel we need to do more is elevate, support, and promote what's being done within community.
That's right.
We don't do that a lot. We still focus and we still put attention on what government is not doing.
That's right.
Again, you're talking about transition. This is 4 mayors now. And we have to find a way of working with our elected officials for accountability, not in a I got you moment, but
Yes.
let's look at your commitment.
Yep.
What did you commit to, and how can we serve and work with you to make sure you fulfill? We also have to stop blaming community. We have to stop saying community needs to take responsibility. We are taking responsibility. The question is, what else do you want me to do in my community when, as a society, we have already deemed our community hotspots? So how do you expect me to do anything else? Again, where Lewis was killed just recently, 3 additional homicides that are there, and we're still blaming young people. So for us, as a mother whose child was murdered and continuing to respond, we really look at community acknowledgement of the grief, the trauma that continues to happen within our community. Your prayers are wonderful. We're not forgetting. Take the awareness month and add that to your Facebook, to your Instagram. Support those, attend those events. I heard you as I was signing on, listening in the background, Sister Natasha Carrington.
Yep.
You know, we are so appreciative of many of the churches who have decided to observe Survivors of Homicide Victims Awareness Month. You know, Pastor Gordon is one of them.
He's here.
Hi, Rev. That again, he heard Natasha, a member of his congregation, and worked with her to guide her to lead the Survivors of Homicide Victims Awareness Month. We have Pastor Ron and Kim Odom that also observe that time. So as survivors, I don't want to put it out there because I don't like to shame and blame, but we need to invite the ministers to observe this month, because we're sitting in your pews. We are suffering in silence. We don't want you to do anything differently. We want you to select a time during your service, whether it's Men's Sunday or whatever Sunday it is, and observe an awareness month, a space for healing. Invite families to come, and you will see the number of survivors that are preaching, stomping, and praising God, yet suffering in silence. So in addition to prayer,
move your feet,
and to telling people we gotta step up, that mental health stuff is real.
Yes.
Advocating for the resources that our community needs. And the other piece, James, which again, I don't know if you remember with Julia, you guys had something at Bruce Bowling.
Yes. Yep.
One thing is, how do we legislate peace? Daggone it. We've got to go back to that. That was something Julia had prevalent right there. How do we legislate?
Peace.
We need to get connected to policy.
Yes. Yes.
Gun is a gun control. It's the more we legislate guns, the more money, the more violence, the more we promote the issue of legislating gun control.
Yep.
The more increase these guns are. And so how do we begin to heal? How do we support each other? How do we stand from each other? And then also, how do we use the social media to promote the assets of our community? Seriously.
Yep.
I mean, sometimes I'm on social media and I feel so intimidated because I don't understand the conversations that I have in. It's like I need a degree.
It is very, very
on social media. So we can support each other. We are supporting each other. We are doing amazing work. We just have to continue to promote the assets of our community and not waiting for government to do. And we need to be partner with government, especially what we're doing now with our congressional leader.
Absolutely. I just got an update from the team. There's a little tech difficulty. So our congresswoman is actually going to call in.
Excellent.
In a couple of seconds. So, but Tina, you raised so many points here about the legislative piece. And I wanted, when you were talking about that, you know, it's also often mentioned that Massachusetts has some of the most progressive gun laws and things like that. But how is it that we still have these incidents? These young people aren't going out buying the guns and whatnot. So where we have legislation locally. So, or is it the national? Is it, what is it?
Well, we have, she's coming on. Excellent.
Yep. Congresswoman. Hold on. Let me just get you on the, why isn't this going to this? Hold on, Congresswoman. Oh, Jesus. I should have her on the, here we go. Audio roadcaster. Congresswoman.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, sister. We have you now.
Okay. Well, hopefully I'm not too distorted. I honestly, it was, I was starting to take it. It was just so frustrating because I could see you all. I couldn't hear you, and I keep being backstage, but I can't get back in. So, but I know that the chaplain has been holding it down. But thank you just so much for elevating the importance of our collaboration and my efforts to establish this month of recognition federally.
Yes, ma'am. Yes. And Congresswoman, I know, you know, time and things like that with the difficulty. And so we wanted to ask, and the Rev was very good at not talking about the resolution that you did. So can you tell us, Rep Presley, what was the resolution? First of all, I'm sorry, let me back up because, you know, we got you in and we were excited about that. How are you doing?
I'm doing fine. And I'm, you know, I know I'm going to have to imminently get to a committee hearing to talk about the rise in anti-LGBTQ rhetoric and policies and hate.
Yep.
And I know you want me to be on time for that. So I do want us to talk about this resolution. So first and foremost, I just want to acknowledge, Chaplain Cherry knows I often talk about our own mothers of the movement, who years ago made it possible to establish this recognition month for survivors of homicide victims from November 20th to December 20th. We have that here in the Commonwealth. It's been adopted by the city of Boston as well. James, you and I participated in many of these events. Yes. And, you know, sadly, it is a growing community of survivors. And people often talk about safety and violence only in the context and the metrics of how many fatalities, right?
Yep.
But we know that, yes, for every life that we are robbed of, you know, there's a family and a community of people who are impacted. And the same for those who are experiencing, you know, that secondary trauma. Maybe they've been tangentially affected. And so we have this growing survivor community of survivors of homicide victims. who are deserving of pathways to healing and to justice. And we really need to see supporting survivors as part of the work of breaking the cycle of violence and intergenerational trauma. And so, I thank Tina Cherry, and I thank Kim Odom and Azara Mendez and others who made it possible for us to have that month here in the Commonwealth. We should be pace setters for the nation. And so I've introduced a federal resolution to now make this a federal month of recognition from November 20th to December 20th, because this is a public health crisis. It's having a traumatic impact on our communities. It is a policy failure. It's entirely preventable. My heart breaks for all of those who have been impacted with the residual effects of primary or secondary trauma. And it's important that we have this recognition during the holiday season, because we know that trauma and the absence of your loved one is especially pronounced at that time. And so we've been robbed of thousands of precious lives due to gun violence and other crimes. And every homicide victim, there's an average of 10 close family and friends who are left to grieve. And we know that loss reverberates through community. Now, the headlines might fade, but it's important that people know that we have not forgotten you, that we see you, and survivors of homicide victims are deserving of having their needs met with grief counseling, bereavement leave, financial assistance, but too often are overlooked and neglected. And so I've partnered with my teacher, my sister, our chaplain, Tina Cherry and the Louis D. Brown Peace Institute, Counselor Mejia, and the community of survivors to introduce House Resolution 1317 to center their healing, to raise awareness, and to honor their experiences by designating November 20th to December 20th as National Survivors of Homicide Victims Awareness Month. And again, Massachusetts already passed this at the state level. Yep. The city of Boston has done the same. And it's time for Congress to follow suit. Congressional intent is a powerful thing. And I'll just close here in saying that as I advocate for bereavement leave and support for the survivor community, many of my colleagues are unaware of how big that constituency is.
That's right.
And so by having a designated month, it strengthens my hand in my advocacy for federal investment and resources, because it amplifies those stories and those individuals and their families.
Congresswoman, I hate that we're not on camera, because you and I kind of feed off each other. My face is very animated, and I am just excited to learn, because I was wondering when I was talking with our chaplain whether that was already a national month. And so if I understood you correctly, what started here in Massachusetts and in Boston through the leadership also of our chaplain, this is now going to a national level, and you're carrying that and shepherding this to the national level. I heard that.
That's right. No, that's right. And again, I believe the people closest to the pain should be the closest to the power, driving and informing the policy solutions. And so I'm grateful to Chaplain Cherry for continuing all these many decades to channel her pain into purpose and to support, sadly, the growing survivor community, and for reaching out to me so that I could introduce this congressional resolution so that this will now be a federal designation.
Absolutely.
So we need to continue to build those co-sponsors so that we can get this to the floor for a vote. And so I would encourage all of you within earshot of this to not hesitate. In fact, we need your advocacy to raise this in any rooms that you're in, and with every member of our Massachusetts delegation, urging them to sign on as co-sponsors if they've not already. And if you have friends and family in other states that are willing to be a part of this cause, to be lobbying their congressional representatives, because survivors are deserving of visibility and deserving of advocacy and deserving of resources.
Absolutely, Congresswoman. The team just told me we had a couple of seconds extra, and so I know this isn't the only space in which you move. Shout out to you for what you and Senator Warren last time we talked did around cancel student debt. And are there some? I know you doing some work around equity in Haiti and what's going on over there. Is there anything for the next couple of seconds that you want to update the district about before we let you go? Pay attention to what's going on with a lot of this stuff.
Yeah, well, I'll just elevate that for those of you who are unaware, I do represent the third largest Haitian diaspora in the country. And I co-chair the House Haiti Caucus. And I'm really grateful to President Biden and Secretary Mayorkas for being responsive recently to our calls and those of grassroots organizers to extend and redesignate Haiti for TPS, temporary protected status. Haiti continues to experience, just speaking of trauma, just unprecedented gang violence, a cholera outbreak, lack of access to clean water and other necessities. It's really a humanitarian crisis. It deserves a humanitarian response. And so
Absolutely.
President Biden extending TPS is really critical because it's going to save lives. And so we fought hard for this alongside immigrant rights advocates. Wouldn't have happened without them. And, I'm just a firm believer that the United States has an obligation to respond equitably to these humanitarian crises and with compassion. We know that our immigration laws are unjust and they have a disparate impact on Black migrants. And so I would just lift up, if we really are doing the work of Black Lives Mattering, then that is true across the globe. And so I just want to just call on all of us to continue to do the work of a liberation and supporting our siblings, both here and around the globe. Black lives matter, and Haitian lives are Black lives.
Rep Presley, AP sister, I know you got to get on that floor and pay attention to a lot of what's going on around hate, anti-Semitism, so much that's going on, racism in our country, xenophobia, and
anti-LGBTQ,
anti-LG, and you know that, Rep, we're going to have another session with you just to come in and hopefully face to face and really have a conversation about how we take responsibility and accountability by exercising our civic right. And so we want you to get off of there. I want to stay in good graces with the team and you as well.
Thank you.
You and Rev.
Thank you. And I'd love to come back anytime. And we would, I'm just grateful to you for this platform, grateful to you for creating the space, and grateful to our chaplain, and wishing everybody a great day. Okay. Take care.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rep.
Well, hopefully if you're in town, you'll join us at Reverend Art's Church for healing service on Sunday the 18th. So, or if your people are around, thank you so much for your leadership and thank you for your friendship.
Oh, are you kidding me? Listen, I follow you anywhere. I follow you anywhere, sis. Appreciate you so very much.
If you know AP, when you hear that tone in her voice, you know that there's something just sparked there. She said, no,
she knows.
So, Rep,
listen, this is one of the most powerful women and one of the most, humble.
Yeah.
I've ever been in proximity to, but this is a powerful sister. And we're just grateful to the Peace Institute. Speaking of being a pace setter, the model and the blueprint that they've created, is bar none. And their footprint is expanded nationally.
Yes.
And we're grateful for the work that they are doing with healing. And we can never lose sight of the fact that this, again, also helps us to break cycles of violence when we support our survivors. So
yes,
I'm going to get going to this
yes, ma'am.
This
Please
hearing,
do.
and I'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you so much.
Prayer. James, the link is there that Ricardo sent
yes,
for
I put
the
it
House
in the
resolution.
comments.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll put it in the comments. And as we do stuff in real time, Rev, I'm going to go and pin it to the top right now. The social media thing. So if I pin it to the top, it'll be the first thing that people see that log in or when they go back and watch the video. So go ahead and share with us, Rev. Let's talk a little bit about that House bill and how folks can get involved locally here.
Well, I think locally, again, like the Congresswoman said, we have families all over. She's our congressional leader, so she's already signed. We need to find those allies, those partners that we have that are a different part of the congressional states or cities, and call them. Again, Moms Demand Actions, the Mass Coalition to Prevent Gun Violence, the church, the Baptist membership associations, the Catholics, the Jews, the whatever it is, we're all connected because we know murder, death, kill, gun violence knows no class, culture, or community. And that's what binds us together. So we get attention when it's mass shooting. We need those people to call their congressional leaders to say, can you sign on to House Resolution 1317? So the more power we're calling our congressional, this is not a Black issue. We talk about violence as a public safety and public health. This is also a human rights and a spiritual issue that we need to bring to the forefront.
Rev, how so spiritual? Please break that down for us.
Oh my God, because let's look at it. God forgive me for calling your name in vain.
It ain't in vain. Go ahead.
It's not my intention. What happens when these mass shootings happen? It don't matter what your faith believes. Prayer is the first thing that comes out. Faith is the first thing that comes out. It's not about religion. It's about who we believe in. And then we pray and we walk away. And then we wait till the next one. And then we pray and we walk away. If it's a minister, a pastor, a rabbi, we put more attention to it. So it is a spiritual issue because some of the most powerful Black women are sitting in these Black churches. So we need the state of Congress, Black, Baptist, Methodist, Catholic. We need to get the cardinal involved in this. All of these churches, we need to get the city of Boston faith-based initiative. We need young Will Dickerson to send this letter to the churches, to the faith leaders in the city of Boston, and to promote this because they've got some freaking power. They've got some damn power. Excuse me, I'm not supposed
You good? You good?
But if the church does not step up and say these survivors are here and we need this resolution to pass in Congress, all churches are national. They belong to somebody. Let's use their voices the same way they're connected with gun control, gun violence, even as we're looking at LGBTQ and hate crime, when they end up dead. It's the families that suffer. It's the families that suffer. And if we're talking about prayer and God, then how do you work with me? Because the God that I know, this should not be happening to me.
Listen.
But the God that I know will never leave me nor forsake me. The God that I know has carried me through the valley of the shadow of death. And here I am. So we need our faith leaders. You know, the Boston police did Faith in Blue during the summer. They were all there. We need every single one of them to call their flock and to say, support the National Survivors of Homicide Victims, HR 1317. It's simple as that. So the invitation is, and I know, you know, I'm gonna push. There you go, Art. You knew I was calling you. I'm gonna push you because you have access. Again, Pastor Odom, I'm gonna put it out there. Did send a letter to the city to ask to share this awareness month with other ministers. You know, we know Pastor Dickerson at Greater Love has done hosted services. We know he responds, he ministers to many of the families when homicide happens. So let's just take that additional step. The missing link in this movement is the faith community.
Which, Rev, it just, and we don't want to go to, listen, it's my platform.
We have to go.
No. It's my platform. We can stay if we want to, because I think that this type of raw conversation is what's needed for a level of motivation, because the truth of the matter is, just like the voters should influence the constituents, it's the members, the tithe payers of these ministries and churches. And I've often said that, you know, you need to go to your pastor and say, okay, when we give this offering and tithes, how much of that or what percentage of that is being put back into community, being put back into dealing with the widows, being put back in, if they don't have something in place, do a survey and find out who in your church is a social worker, who in your church has the ability to organize. Because even from a policy standpoint, like you talk about the national organizations, that they can send out one email to the National Baptist Convention and the AME Association. And so it's so interesting where you would presume that the faith community, and let's give balance. There's a large portion of the faith community that is active in our city, our state, and in our country. But if we were to maybe put a percentage about who's assertively and who's aggressively active from the faith community, it's probably at about 35-40%. And so imagine if we were able to get to 100, Rev. There wouldn't be a fight around policy. No. There would also be the opportunity to engage people and I'm sorry.
Yeah. And so, and I think that's the part we said we can't make, what is it? We can't mix religion and state.
Separation of church and state.
Church and state. Well, I mean, it doesn't make any sense. Our city has a faith-based initiative. The White House has the faith-based initiative. Why is it that we can't do that and make that for me, the missing link? We're always waiting for government to call us to the table. God said, my houses are many.
Mm-hmm.
It is the faith leaders. And for me, I would love, and Pastor Gordon, I'm gonna put you out there, but when the Spirit leads me, I've got to say it, not in a bad way, in an amazing way. You have been one of those leaders that you have heard from your flock. You have heard from Natasha, and you work and you provided Natasha that space. That's what my priest did for me, the late Father Von You at St. Ambrose Parish. Man didn't know what to do. He's going to talk about, you got to forgive. I told my priest where to go and how to get there. How you going to tell me to forgive when you have not even guided me to understand what is it that God is asking from me? So Pastor Gordon, you have done that. Pastor Kim and Ron, as survivors and as ministers, are leading that. So I think for me, how do we get with the mayor's office of faith-based initiative and really begin to have that conversation? It's not about religion, but this will be a different, because we had it on the Marty Walsh, we had it on the Cam Janey, but how do we, and who leads to say, here is the multi-faith plan, initiative for the mayor's office to bring healing to our community? So for me, I've been doing this work, and I've really been kept out of many religious spaces because I wasn't a minister. That's another conversation.
Please.
Because I wasn't a minister, and I was literally kept out of.
Are you meeting? Excuse me, Rev. Are you meeting needs?
Am I?
Are you meeting needs? No, hold on.
But it's God. It's God way. I don't have to
listen. Let's not. And I'm going to step in my former elder role and who was ordained and licensed and being heathen now, whatever. Listen, you got to understand that the word ministry comes from the word diakonos, which means meet the need. These deacons and elders and whatnot, their responsibility is to meet the needs. And so if you're ministering, ma'am, you are a minister. And a lot of this, I get the church protocol to make your calling and election sure and all of that. But listen, there is proven, one of the things that happens in a bishopric is when they go through their process, someone from the community has to come in and talk about their social engagement and what they've done in the community. And so if it wasn't important that you already have this established for over 20 some odd years, Rev,
I know. And so I'm learning my chaplaincy. I'm owning it. A part of my work also, and I'll say it here, along with Pastor Kim Odom, I received my doctoral on from Christian University Global Exchange. I graduated, and so I am going to focus on being ordained as a minister of God's peace. So I'm beginning to own that. Yet, what I also want to put out there, it's still focused on the men as ministers. What I would like to do is find a way of bring the women ministers along with the men ministers. And how do we really work within our faith, our houses of worship, to really guide families through what does it mean to live the peace of God in the midst of
Follow peace
the
with
valley
all
of the
men.
shadow of death. That's the missing link. We are not ministering the peace of God to those of us who have gun violence and murder has really knocked our doors down, especially going through investigation process, going through court proceeding process, going through parole, probation, corrections. We have not been ministered the peace of God that surpasses human understanding. Again, Natasha Carrington is one of many survivors.
Right.
Who is really past she gives credit to Pastor Gordon and First Lady Gordon of making that connection. Natasha is one that it's really walking through the valley of the shadow of death. You see her, you watch her. She is that firm example.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
Of where this church leaders provided that space for her, where she's providing healing. But she probably didn't say it, but she also is being honored at the DA's breakfast for her work in ministering and guiding other families.
Natasha
Yes,
T. Carrington is what we'll call you today. Is you ain't said nothing. When is that, Rev?
Well, the breakfast is tomorrow. It's RSVP, and this is a part of the awareness month also, which with Dan Conley, he hosted an awareness month. It started very small at his office, and it became too big. Rachel Rollins continued it. She has a breakfast at oh my goodness, I can't think of the name of right in Dorchester. Florian Hall, yes. And so DA Hayden is continuing that breakfast. And what I think he added, I don't know if Rachel added it, but I think it started under him, where they're acknowledging survivors for transforming their pain and for guiding others. That's okay, Natasha. I know we don't promote each other. That's why I'm here. So don't be sorry. And so it's RSVPing. And so when you're doing God's work, the work is quietly. There's no press release. We're serving. And so as Natasha is being guided through the Survivors Network, as Natasha is being guided through the healing and support services that is done through the Peace Institute, through Legacy Lives On, through We Are Better Together, we are all interconnected. Yet she is serving as God has called her to serve through her pain. Through her pain. We're dealing with Christmas. We're going to be celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior. There's a mother that we don't talk about. And mothers whose loved ones have been murdered, whose children have been murdered. For me, it's a holy mother that guides me to make sure that I am really being obedient to what her son has called us to do. And many of us survivors are sitting in the churches doing exactly that. So I want to really appreciate, again, Pastor Gordon and his wife, Ron and Kim Odom of True Vine Church, and any other church that it's really elevating the survivors that are sitting in their pews.
Ms. T, we'll get to that. We had a comment there from Ms. Teresa, and we'll get to that in a few minutes, Tina. But we're a little over today, and which I don't mind, because there's some things that just needed to be stated, and it is just imperative that we stay focused around legislation. And I've said on the platform a lot of times, staying in contact, checking on family and things like that, it does help. I'm tired, and that's always an indication of when, we'll use the church terminology, when the virtue leaves. I'm tired, but Rev, I just want to encourage you to, away from what we're talking about today, that it is honorable that you're not a renegade and you're not just going out. You could go to the internet and pay $20 and get a license to be a minister. However, it's good to submit to leadership and it's good to have covering, but at the same time, be somewhere where folks can appreciate you, cover you, and let you flow and function the way that God has called you to, and don't be bound by the law of the letter versus y'all are messing with me. Tina, get off my screen. Because y'all gonna have me in a hole. I'm going to be up here taking an offering by the time it's done. I love you, Rev, and Soul for so many years, just setting the example, staying focused. It lends to the fact of your impact. And so thank you so much for all that you do. You be encouraged. Do something nice for yourself today. Go eat something unhealthy. And take care of not too unhealthy because we want to stay healthy, but take
Thank
care of
you.
yourself. And anything
Well, we hope we'll see everybody on Sunday at Pastor Gordon's church. And again, that resolution, Pace, our policy coordinator, he is around. Visit our website, but really the House resolution speaks for itself. And let us thank you, Java. Thank you, Jimmy. House resolution. Let's just call our congressional leaders, and let's call and thank our congressional leader, Ayanna Pressley. Just saying thank you for bringing this to light. Again, blessings. May the peace of God really just reign over all of us and cover us as we continue to pray for the peace of our city, our beloved city, and our mayor and our leaders.
Yes, ma'am.
Blessings to all.
Rev, thank you.
Yep.
So for y'all that know me, y'all know that this we could have had a whole protocol Sunday school sermon. Anyway, I'm going to get off of here because I'm a little bit fired up. We're leaving today with getting insured and getting active and support HR 1317 by calling we don't have to call Rep Presley. She's in our district, but how we could call and just say, hey, can you please pass on to the rep our appreciation for what she's doing? Y'all don't know, for elected officials, getting those instead of threats and talking about her alopecia and things like that, having that balance with just the note. You all don't know what would happen if she just got a little note, say constituent such and such called, and just to say thank you. They're human. They have mental wellness things that they need to deal with for themselves. Y'all done messed me up today. What's today? Wednesday? We got one more day left. And I'm by myself tomorrow. So, all right. We will see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Have a wonderful day. And thank you for staying with us for a little extended, a little drawn out, slow brewed Java with Jimmy this morning. I had to laugh when Tina said Java. A couple of folks call me that intentionally. All right. That's it for me this morning. I'm going to go recoup, get myself together, and we'll see you guys tomorrow morning at 9 a.m.